Welcome to the roleplay Q&A that we're doing this week. So, without further ado, I'm just going to start taking questions from chat or questions that are PM'd to me on Twitter, tweeted at me on Twitter. So, go for it, guys. Hit me with your questions. Whoa. Did you expect them to lose? No. I didn't really expect them to win or lose anything. I try not to go into things expecting like win-loss scenarios. Question 1. Did you expect the party to whiff that first encounter and get captured? Well, I knew that there were a lot of guards there. If we think about it, there were 6 guards that were standing that were guarding the gate, right? And with 6 guards that rotate probably 3 shifts a day, 6 times 3 is 18 guards, plus a captain, 19, and that's at a bare minimum. That's if everyone always works, no one has any sick days. So let's give a couple of spare guards, which brings us to like 22-ish. So 22 people, all in plate mail, is pretty fucking tough. I think they ended up fighting a little less than that, just because people, fled to go report. But yeah, that was a lot of people. I didn't necessarily plan it or expect them to go one way or the other, but it definitely was kind of, yeah. Will Dalamar get a health bonus equal to all damage done with his rod when the group fights him? If that was the case, I could not answer that, and that would be OP as fucking shit. Okay. Question. How will you handle the consequences of the evil deeds of the party? Will their alignments change? I don't give a shit about alignments. I've never cared. It's not a thing I worry about. So don't worry about alignments. Alignment on a character sheet is kind of just a marker for where they start. Don't worry about that as like a marker for ongoing. I mean, who cares? Alignment doesn't change anything. I've never been a fan of it. As for will there be consequences for their evil actions, I like to think that I run a D&D campaign where there are consequences for all actions, be them good or evil. So yes, there will be consequences for their actions, regardless. What made you decide to finally use tokens/maps after being so adamantly against them this whole time? Today was week 22 of roleplay. We've been playing since February, I believe. So the reason I've been adamantly against tokens and maps has been that I think that it encourages players to not think outside the box. I think it encourages players to look at what they have in front of them and only think about the set pieces that are put in front of them. And I think after having 21 games of D&D, they will have learned to think outside the box enough that if I introduce some set pieces, that it won't really restrict their thinking. Hopefully. So we're going to see how it goes. We'll introduce some more complicated battle scenarios where outside the box thinking is encouraged, or allow situations where there would be many opportunities to think outside the box. And if they don't pick up on it as much as they used to, we'll scale back the maps and the tokens. But in general, I like to encourage players to think outside the box. So we're doing it as a test thing because I think they've been playing long enough to be good players. What was the correct way to get into the catacombs? There is no correct answer. I don't build puzzles with a right or wrong answer. There's just, hey, here is a problem. You figure it out. If you want to know how I would have done it, which I'm not saying this is the correct way, but if you want to know how I would have done it, my answer would have been walk in the front door, kill the guards like they had planned, open the gate, go through, raid the catacombs, and then on their way out, rather than fighting the giant army that they were worried about fighting, like the reinforcements, then use the group invisibility spell to just walk through everyone. Because initially they thought, well, we could use group invisibility and sneak in that way and then fight. But I would say kill everyone and then use group invisibility to get out. So that's me. I it's hard to find questions in chat. If you guys want, it's easier for me to get questions if you PM them to or send them to me on @Koibu0 on Twitter. Could the party have convinced the guards to let them clear the tomb without a fight? They tried, and I mean, I couldn't think of a way for them to be convinced, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. I don't know how they could have done it, but it might actually have worked. I doubt it, but maybe they would have thought of something that I couldn't have thought of. Question. Would salt actually be effective against the slug in this D&D universe? Well, slugs don't like salt. Slugs will kill salt. Salt will kill slugs. You'd need a lot of salt to kill a giant slug. Like a lot of salt. So I would say it's possible, but you'd need the right amount. What are the limitations of their magic ring / wish, if any? I am not telling that. That's a question I've been getting a lot since we talked about the wish. And that's going to be one of the things I don't want to discuss at all. Because that way the players have to figure it out on their own. And I mean, look at literature. Look at all the instances of like people being given wishes in stories and stuff. They always end badly if they're not done right, right? So I don't want to help them with that at all. Are you going to change the recovering HP system to speed up time? No, absolutely not. If I were to do that, then clerics who, I don't want to say their primary function, but one of their main functions is healing, become unimportant. Where the loss of Tutagub as a cleric should be felt by the party, and it should be significant. So, no. Recovering HP without a cleric is a huge pain in the ass, and it should always be a pain in the ass. Otherwise, clerics are... then who cares if you have a cleric or not? Ooh, a lot of PMs all of a sudden. Do you watch any other roleplay, which think you mean D&D campaigns, or pen and paper campaigns? Any thought or some hints to change anything on your DMing? I haven't really been watching any others. I've been super busy lately. I wanted to watch Dark Heresy, but I was out of town, so I might catch the next one. Any thoughts or hints on anything you want to change your DMing? I'll let you know as they come through, but nothing now. How do you deal with players who start to disengage during a really rough encounter? I don't. If they disengage, they disengage. Awesome. Let their party deal with the consequences of that. There's no reason to stop them. Let them disengage. Let them run away. Let them feel the consequences of their actions. Why didn't Abigail get attacks of opportunity against her when she turned and ran as the others were surrendering? Because attacks of opportunity only work for melee, and she wasn't in melee range of anybody. So do you think that the party is evil now, or do you think they'll just keep getting screwed over in life? Well, it seems to be a fun discussion people are having. Why don't you just keep having the discussion? Do you have any suggested program for making a world map? Could one use the program you use for cartography? I use Photoshop. I think it's great. There are some like dedicated map making programs out there, which I'm not a big fan of, but I didn't spend a lot of time looking at them, so go for it. Could you give us an example of more complicated battle and how the slug could escape and come back later? So you could have complicated battle where there is, I don't know, maybe like a staircase with some beams that are set widely apart and people coming up from below. And the staircase allows for a lot of opportunity where you can jump off the staircase and come around, or you can like hide under the staircase. There's a lot of things you could do with something like that. Or perhaps, battle concentrating around a wagon with a very large opponent where you could like hide under the wagon or like sneak around the wagon or something like that. If you just had set pieces, a lot of people would just think, oh, wagon, giant will fight the giant, fight the giant, fight the giant. But when you talk about it and use your imagination, players will often say, oh, crap, there's a giant coming. I'm just going to hide under the wagon, which is great. So that's a sort of more complicated in terms of extra battle options. And could the slug escape and come back later? I'm not telling that. We'll see. Does Abigail get experience for killing the guards in their sleep? They get experience. She'll get experience for. The party will get experience for escaping. Whether they had escaped on their own, when left everyone alive or killed everybody and escaped will be the same amount of experience. The experience is for escaping. Killing people in their sleep is not inherently a challenge or dangerous, so you don't get experience for it. Does it bother you when players disagree with what you say? Slightly, but not that much. I encourage healthy debate, but at the end of the day, whatever the DM says goes, even if it directly goes against the rules. So until I say it doesn't matter what the rules say, we're doing it my way, and then the players, argue with that. Until that happens, it's fine. I like debating. Are you going to continue throwing status effects monsters at the party until they realize they need to prepare for battles? I'm not trying to do things like that. I'm not trying to make them prepare for battles. What I am trying to do is create interesting combat situations, and they are finally strong enough to be able to handle monsters that will screw them over status-wise. Do you prefer to play as a player or DM, and why? I like doing both. DMing is fun because that way you're always in the action. There's no like, oh, fuck. I'm knocked out of this battle. I can't do shit. Damn it. So being a DM is fun. Right now I would like to play because I DM 4 games and I don't get to play. So I'd like to do that, but whatever. How many other D&D are you DMing, and can you link them for me, please? I love watching you guys do roleplay. So I do roleplay. Thank you, by the way. I do Misclicks, which is Tuesdays at 5:30 Pacific time, and I do One Shots, which is every other Thursday. Sorry, Misclicks is Tuesday. I don't know if I said Tuesday or Thursday, but it's Tuesday. One Shots, which is every other Thursday. This Thursday is one of them. And then I have a group I play with my friends every other Monday, which I don't stream. Have you ever played any other pen and paper RPGs or tabletop games other than D&D? I played 2nd edition and 4th edition, and that's basically it. Nothing else worthy to talk about. Did you throw them a bone, allowing them to surrender during battle where enemies didn't have clear commander giving orders? No. That was not throwing them a bone whatsoever. Trained soldiers in a situation where they have their opponents at a great disadvantage will allow surrender. That's their training. That's what they're supposed to do. That's not being kind. So, have you taken a look at D&D Next playtest, and what do you think about it so far? I have taken a look at it, but I think we're not supposed to talk about it when you take a look at it, and since this is on stream, I'm not going to talk about it. Would allow a paladin to be in the party by striking down the rule that paladins are not allowed to knowingly help unlawful people. Would you allow a paladin to be in the party by striking down the rule? I don't like paladins. I mean, if you took that rule out, then they wouldn't really be paladins, and they'd be a class that have paladin abilities without the paladin morality, which makes them not interesting paladins. It just makes them a weird healing class. Part of being a paladin is that morality system, which I don't find fun in large groups. So, I don't know. I would have to change paladins a little bit to make them comfortable. So, maybe, but I haven't done it so far. Do you have some kind of karma system that determines things like NPC reactions, like evil choices, building bad reputations? If the NPCs know the players by reputation, they will react according to the reputation they know. If they don't know the player's reputation, then they could have done anything in the past and it wouldn't matter. So, not really a karma system, just kind of my gut reaction to how I think an NPC would react, if that makes sense. Do you plan to change the initiative system to the same one based on one-shots? No. That would require reworking the entire game system and all the stats. We would effectively be changed from 2nd edition to a different game system entirely, and I don't want to do that. Have you ever thought of using the D&D toolset to build a campaign in a non-fantasy universe, plasma swords and magic spells? Yeah, I've thought about it a ton. How many times have you played in D&D campaign? I've been playing since junior high school. I am now 26 years old, so I've been playing a lot. How much experience do you think is needed to start DMing in your opinion? You don't need a ton. You just need to prepare and be creative. As long as you can be creative and think on your feet, and you're willing to read a lot ahead of time, you don't need a ton of experience. I started in junior high, so we were definitely playing at a different level. But, me and my friends just picked up the books, read them, and then figured it out and started playing from there. So it can be done. Oh my god, this fucking hair ties. You said you don't have time to play much. Have you heard of D&D encounters? They're like mini campaigns held at local game stores. I have heard about it, but I've only heard about it through Penny Arcade, and they were not very flattering about it. So, yeah. What is the favorite hero you have ever rolled or has been rolled in a game you've DM'd? I've played since junior high. I've had so many games, I don't remember most of the characters. I played an Elven Thief once that I really, really liked, but I think that was mostly due to the campaign style, which was more player-oriented, where I was creating my own quests and following through, and the DM was just creating the world around me as I went through and did shit. I really liked that a lot. Do you think the party will make it to Vincent's homeland at some point? We'll see. We'll see where the story takes us. What is the most common question about the ring, and how many times have you been spammed about bringing Tuttagut back? There's been a lot of rings, so I don't know which ring you're talking about. And how many times have I been spammed about bringing Tuttagut back? Not that many. I've actually only had 4 or 5 people talk to me about it. Most people kind of got it that once he's dead, he's dead. What about switching the party to a physical die? I have questions of the randomness of Roll20. I've chatted with the Roll20 devs, and I've looked at the things they've published. Roll20 is very random, possibly more random than most dice you will buy. Most dice you will buy have lots of imperfections, and any given die is probably favoring one number a little bit. Roll20 is super fucking random. I've chatted with their devs. I've looked at their work. I trust Roll20 and their dice. Switching the party to all physical dice would be interesting, but I like how the numbers get shown on stream. With the ring, could they bring Tuttagut back from the dead? I told you, I'm not going to talk about wishes. I'm not going to tell you. So, there you go. If you could play as a player with the roleplay cast, what class would you be? I would be... Well, at this point, I'd be a cleric, because that's what they're missing. I think right now I would be a cleric. What is the notes about? Well, if I was going to tell you, wouldn't we already have told you? Like, doesn't the fact that we didn't tell you anything tell you that I don't want to tell you? If that makes sense. How many hours do you and your friends play every other Monday? 12 hours? No, I wish we could play 12 hours. Those days are long gone. We play from like 7 to midnight usually. So 3, 4, 5 hours. But then we also eat. So, you know. Where else do we have more questions? In the D&D Essentials box kit, Monster Vault. In D&D, the Essentials box kit, Monster Vault, will that work with other editions of D&D like 4E? I don't know. I don't know anything about the D&D Essentials, so I can't help you there. One of the biggest problems I have with DMing is dealing with overpowered characters. How do you deal with it without putting the party at risk of making the players feel like they're being picked on? So for a long time, everyone's like, "Oh my God, Jeff is so overpowered. Vincent is so overpowered. What are we going to do about it?" The answer was, well, give everyone else that same power and then put them against harder creatures. And then you can always put them against harder creatures. You can put them against creatures that will screw them over in other ways than damage. You can slow them down, you can age them, you can take away their weapons, you can put them against monsters that will status affect them, you can put them against guys with really high armor, you can put them against flying creatures. There's a lot of different things that you can do. There's no one solution, there's like a million solutions. Yeah. Have I ever DM'd a Lawful Good cast? I have. What is the usual range? Oh crap, is it blurry again? My camera always, not always, but sometimes, there we go, fixed. Any plans you have for the campaign but discarded after all? Yes, but I usually then reuse my plans that I discard. Jeff seems a little frustrated with the rules at times. Do you experience this a lot? Yeah, yes and no. Jeff was probably more frustrated than any other player I've had, but not by a ton. Let's see. How would you rate this episode 1 to 10? I would say today was fun. Today was a lot of fun. I'd put today at 9. We were laughing our asses off most of the time, which is great. So I would say 9. Can you clarify the crit system for me? I thought it was based completely off the rolls plus mods, but you said a 17 plus 7 wouldn't crit, but an 18 plus 6 would. Yes. So here's how the crit system works, guys. If you roll an 18, 19, or 20 and clear by 5, you critical. If you roll anything below an 18 and clear by 10, you critical. If you double the amount that you clear by and you still clear, so for example, if you roll an 18 and you clear by 10, then it's a double crit. Or if you roll an 18 and you clear by 15, you triple crit, etc. So if you roll below an 18 and you clear by 20, you double crit. That's the system. If Jen didn't run away, do you think the party would have survived? If Jen didn't run away, the party would have been captured, and they would have all been locked up, and they would have tried to escape, and they probably would have been caught and possibly killed. That's what I think. I don't know. Would they have survived? Is questionable. That we'd have to play it out. I can't subscribe to JP right now. Is there any way I can watch this week's VOD? Yes, if you go to JP's YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/user/itmejp, you can watch the VODs there. You'll have to watch it like one segment at a time over the course of the week, though. Why was there only one guard patrolling the camp when it was known that some of the party got away? Abby was shot at. Because they didn't think Abby would try to come back into an armed encampment and attack everyone. There were a bunch of people that were injured and some people that had left. So they didn't think that it would be that big of a deal. They really didn't think Abby was going to come back. Will you have the VODs up about this Q&A? Yes. Well, what character have you felt the biggest urge to DM execute throughout the weeks? None. I've never wanted to just mod kill anybody. Can you wish to learn the wish spell? Guys, I'm not telling you anything about wishes. I'm not telling you anything about wishes. Stop asking. Which character is standing out most to you right now and why? Actually, they're all doing really well. None of them is standing out more than the other right now. Sorry. Yes, there will be VODs up of this Q&A. We've already answered that. When is the Live in Pink versus Koibu on killing Koibu happening? Whenever she gets her shit together and stops being a coward and comes and fights me. That's when. Do you ever fudge statistics or rolls? And if so, please tell us when. No. I do not fudge rolls. That's not fun. It breaks the game. It makes me a shitty DM. I never fudge rolls. What do you recommend for a new player that wants to find people to play D&D with? I would say go to your local gaming shop. There's a bunch of them. Basically every town has a gaming shop or comic book shop or something like that. Go there, ask them when they have their RPG nights or their D&D nights. They probably have one. You can find a party to play with there. Or you can find people online. Google's your friend, in this case. Did Abby get a shit ton of EXP for stealth killing those guards? 0 EXP for killing the guards. They were not a threat to her. She got a lot of... The party will get a lot of EXP for, being rescued and escaping. We're doing party EXP. So if Vincent tanks, kills 5 guys by himself, or if Abigail sneaks in and rescues everyone, it's the same. We're just splitting party EXP evenly throughout the party. Can you explain what makes a silver dragon special, or does that spoil what might happen later? Silver dragons are good dragons. There are 5 good dragons: gold, silver, brass, copper, bronze. There are 5 evil dragons: red, black, blue, white, green. So a silver dragon is just one of the 5 types of good dragons. I'm trying to create my own campaign, and as a new DM, could you please give me advice to create good story and to guide the players? I'll get that question a lot. Let's create a good story. So a good story is something that the players can explore to quite a bit of depth. A good story is something that isn't on a railroad track. A good story is something that has the players as the focus of the campaign. So don't create a story about 2 kingdoms at war and then have the players like go throughout you should have the story should be about the players doing their thing, and these 2 kingdoms at war should be the backdrop. So the story should be about, if they want to stop the war, then the story should be about stopping the war. It shouldn't be about a war. If you want the players to, start simple. So how do you explain these things? These are hard concepts for me to explain. A lot of people have sent me things saying like, oh, here's a campaign idea I have for you for roleplay. Could you please do this? And it'll be something like, here's this guy who has this trouble with this previous guy, and the players see him at this thing, and then they chase him to this place, and then he does this thing, and then the players will follow up with this, and the guy convinces the players to work with him, and then the guy says this, this, and this, and then the players go and do this for this guy. And that's a bad story because the players aren't at the heart of that story. That's a story about this guy, whatever his name is. So if we want to make a story, a good D&D campaign, you should make a story where the players are the people making all the decisions, where the players are the ones that choose how the story proceeds. So rather than saying the story is about the players helping this guy do this thing, you should say, okay, there's a guy, he wants to do this thing, and the story is about how the players deal with that situation, whether they help him with it, whether they hurt him from doing it, or get in his way, whether they turn him into somebody else, whether they ignore it completely and move on. The story should always be about the players' decisions and not about what other people want them to do. I hope that helps. Bannon looted Tuttagub's grave after they burned him. Back on that episode, you said he found a charred bracer. Would that still have the healing power? That would be spoilers. They need to cast Detect Magic on it to see if that's still there. Pink used a disabling shot tonight. What has your thoughts been about the Porter's overall effectiveness in combat? Coup de grace, prepared actions, 5-foot steps. I know that you've been pretty liberal with how combat works, but wording is a big deal in D&D combat. Maybe a 10-minute boot camp for the players. I think they've been doing great. I think their overall combat effectiveness has been pretty high. There have been some times, like today, if they had formed a wall against the bridge, they would have been able to fight 2-on-2 rather than getting surrounded. But whatever, they opted to do it that way, and that's fine. Overall, I think they've been pretty good. And D&D, for me, is not about combat effectiveness. It's about the story that you create with the players and about their characters and what they do. So if they're inefficient in combat, I'm actually quite happy with that. If they're super efficient in combat, that's fine too, because combat is not the heart. Combat is a fun aspect to the game, but it's not the heart of the game. The heart of the game is the role play and the story and the decisions they make. Neil, as a player, would you trust a random elf woman who claims she is a dragon and that she can grant you a wish? Well, not if it was phrased like that. However, under the circumstances, it's not unreasonable. I mean, that is a legitimate thing that could happen. So given sufficient evidence, I would believe it. And for these players, sufficient evidence has already been given, apparently. Do you think that the party is trusting your NPC way too much, like with Celia and that dead Abigail friend? They don't question much? Well, I don't think they're... Yeah. No comment. That's cool. Do gold coins have any weight in your world? I would like them to. In the past, I've had coins, but it gets to be a huge pain in the ass when you're doing stuff and you're gathering money, and we're getting to the point where the party has like 5,000 gold coins, and it's like, okay, maybe this should start counting towards weight. And so I should start introducing some caps on that soon somehow. But it's a huge pain in the ass. It's like dealing with eating and all the time. You know, we don't keep track of the amount of food the party carries on them. We just assume they have some amount of food and they carry it. And like if they were stuck in the wilderness for a week, then we'd go, okay, you guys are starving now. You don't have that much food. But if you're just going town to town, we gloss over these details because it makes it too much of a pain in the ass to deal with. Will we see the Broken Orb quest line come back full circle? I've already integrated most of the aspects from the Orb quest into the campaign already, so probably not. But who knows, maybe. If an author wanted to publish a novel about Solemn, who would you want the author to be? I don't know. I have no idea. I know you won't talk about the ring and wishes, but if you had any one wish in a fantasy world, what would it be? Not talking about the ring and the wishes. Do you find yourself subconsciously creating very similar quests from DMing so many times? Probably. There is kind of like a limit to the number of the different types of quests you can create. You know, you can do kill thing, you can do retrieve object, you can do protection mission, you can do gather information, which is basically the same as gather item. You can do, interrogate person, which is basically the same as gather information, which is basically the same as get item. You can do defend post, which is basically, kill target. You can do, there's a lot of variations you can do, but the main themes are go from point A to point B, or destroy X however you want, or retrieve X however you want. So those are the three main themes, a lot of variations on them. So in the way, all campaigns are the exact same. All quests are the exact same. Do you think that, we already answered that. After seeing how much of Vincent made off armor, do you see them selling more equipment? Maybe, but getting plate armor is really fucking uncommon. And the fact that they actually managed to kill 9 guys with plate armor is really rare. So I doubt we'll be seeing that happening often. What's your favorite D&D setting? The current one, the World of Solemn. I love it. Do you feel Bannon is fitting into the group? Yeah, I think the group is getting along with Bannon pretty well. What were Vincent's chances of being accosted for selling the armor of the King's Guard, of the Guardians of the King's Crypt? I don't want to reveal the exact chances, but he passed them by a large margin. Questions from over here again. Oh, we are dropping. Neil, will we see other dimensions? Maybe. Can't answer that. Has there been any stupidly powerful items that the party has missed so far? No? Maybe? No, I don't know, not really. Why was the party not in a locked room, or at least bound by their feet while everyone was asleep? They were in a locked room. Their room was locked from the outside. I found the combat today, although satisfying, seemed somewhat hamstrung by the players using, the map so much. Do you plan on continuing using the map to this extent, or do you want to go back to painting a picture and using the maps simply as a secondary tool? I want to give it some more time to see how it goes. Why did the rotating guard not notice that the door was left open by Abby? Were there no lights? There were no lights on inside, and he wasn't really looking inside. And the only times where he could have seen that would have been at odd angles. And also the door opened in and not out. So if you could be a new character in the party, what would you make? We already answered that earlier. What has been your favorite individual moments that you have seen each player accomplish? We've been playing for 22 weeks. I can't even remember most of the moments. So no answer, I'm sorry. Neil, hypothetically, would it cost... hypothetically, what would it cost... Damn it, it keeps freaking moving. Stop talking, chat. What would it cost to hire you X number of times a week or week X number of hours as a DM? To hire me as a DM? Well, I usually spend about 1 hour planning for every hour I spend playing. So if you want to hire me as a DM, if we were to play for 4 hours, that would be 8 hours of work for me, and I would charge the same rates that I charge for my web development, which is $50 an hour. So that'd be, for a 4 hour session, it would end up being like $400. So there you go. That's the only way I can even rationalize making this profitable. Question, is the ring Abby looted from the Hill Giant useless now? That's a spoiler. How big is Solemn? Don't know. What do you think about the character templates, Lich, Vampire, Werewolf, etc.? And are you planning to use them in some characters? Lich is super fucking OP as shit. Probably won't see them anytime soon. Vampires I'm using in another campaign right now, so I don't think I want to use them anytime soon. Werewolves I'm not a big fan of. Werewolves are kind of lame. So that's what I think about them. Do you have Abby's phone number? Abigail is a fictional character. She doesn't have a phone. Do you want me to write a novel about Solemn? If you want to, feel free to. Where could you find people to play D&D with? I mentioned this already. If you go to, what do you call it? If you go to your local comic book shop or game shop, then you can find people to play with there, or Google it. Why did you make Abby so ugly? Abby is not ugly. Abby is fairly average. Everyone else just happens to be above it. I mean, Jeff is, he's only got 12 charisma now. He's a little above average. She's not ugly at all, guys. She's not ugly. What amount of voices and character acting do you like? Do you do some with other groups more than I like to get into voices, but right now when I've been using voices, I've been forgetting which NPCs have which voice because I have 4 D&D campaigns going on, and it's been causing me problems remembering who has what voice. So I've been failing on that because there's just too much going on. Do you think running a campaign with limited magic in general would be tough? No, most of my campaigns are low magic. This is the highest magic campaign I've run in probably like 5 years, maybe 6 years. Is Bannon the same type of wizard as Dalamar? Could he potentially learn the spell from his book? Yeah. Well, all wizards are, in this world, most of the wizards are the same. They're red, white, and black. Right? And then you got specialists that, vary in different areas. So most spells are not in the specialization that a wizard uses. So let's say Dalamar is a necromancer. I'm not saying he is, but I'm saying for argument's sake, we're going to say Dalamar's a necromancer. And let's say Bannon is a conjurer, which he's not, but for argument's sake, let's say he's a conjurer. Most of their spells would overlap, and they'd be able to learn each other's spells at the appropriate levels. There would be a few that they wouldn't be able to use, but most of the time it'd be fine. Who hosts the third campaign? I host the third campaign, which is one-shots. It's going to be here on this stream Thursday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. The fourth campaign, I play with my friends in person. Will they meet a white wizard, the power of Dalamar? That's a spoiler. Can't tell you. What's the highest level a character can achieve? Infinite. It normally caps out at 20, but in theory you could go beyond. Whenever this campaign ends, do you think you'll find yourself using Solemn with new players if you DM a new group? Currently, all 4 of my groups are in the world of Solemn. So yes, I will keep using it probably. Any advice for a newbie interested in possibly trying D&D out? Any recommendations for sites for learning more? Just have fun. Don't worry about the game. Don't worry about the rules. Hop in, talk with people, have fun. That's the most important part. Don't worry about the rules. Neil, you said a lot of salt can kill the slug. How much is a lot? Not telling you. What is your favorite race and or monster in D&D? Favorite playable race is human. Favorite monster kind of varies. I like goblins. Those are fun. I don't know. It changes all the time. Let's see. Will you introduce a new character player? Probably not unless someone leaves. What is the longest session you have ever DM'd? 12 hours. Can a person specialize in a different class, learn new class skills or abilities? No, that's called dual classing or multi-classing. We're not doing that. Would you incorporate things that have happened in the lands from one campaign to another? I don't really follow, but we live in a persistent world, or a world of consequences. So if the party does something here, and I have a campaign that takes place later, I'll incorporate what the party did into that as long as I can. As long as it's relevant. What is the quickest campaign you've ever played? I don't know, like 5-6 hours. It was like a one-shot campaign and then it was over. 4 hours, 3 hours. Would you set up a link to an FAQ for the answers that are redundant? No, it's too much work. I'll just keep answering redundant questions. Will you ever play in a game that you DM? No, I would never. I've done that in the past. I don't like it. It's no fun. Is there a living Tarask in the world of Solemn? Not answering that question. If there was, I couldn't say. If there wasn't, I wouldn't say because then it would tell you that there wasn't. So let your mind run rampant. Do you think I would create a world that didn't have a Tarask, really? How powerful is the party compared to the rest of the world? If we're still having 14 levels to go, they're already stronger than the elite guards. So a 6th level player, a 6th level character is vastly more powerful than most people you'll meet. The people they were fighting were 4th level earlier today in plate mail. So the vast majority, they are stronger than 99% of the world right now. The only people that they're not stronger than are like unique characters, maybe very powerful fighters, great warriors, powerful wizards, etc., etc., etc. Most of the world is very, very weak. By the time you're 3rd level, you're more powerful than like 98% of the world. What level were the giants? Giants don't have a level, but they had like 14 hit dice, I think. So, yeah. Do you play live with your 4th group or over the internet? Live, which is so much fun because then we can actually eat together and talk and drink and blah, 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 blah. Why was there no Temple of Jexel and Willowbrook when the one-shots visited there? There was. Well, I mean, it would... there was a temple, there were many gods there. Jexel, they were talking about John rather than Jexel because the people didn't really care about Jexel. Tuttigub came through every now and then and be like, make something about Jexel. And they were like, sure. But people didn't actually pray to Jexel, so they don't care. Can you tell us what level Dalamar is roughly at? He is greater than level 1. He is less than level 80. I'll tell you that. Usually in a world, mages invoke fear. Are there any types of anti-mages or Templars in D&D? Yeah, well, I wouldn't... D&D, you can't necessarily say in D&D, but in this world, yes. Do you prefer to be a DM or a player? I like them both. Yeah. When you make a story, how do you choose to nudge the players in the right direction? That's hard. It's really a case-by-case situation. You can't really give an answer to that. It kind of really depends on each individual case. Would the players be considered superhuman on most standards? No. Not yet. When you hit like level 15, then you're pretty superhuman, but not really. I think the one question was trying to say, what are the odds of Brigger's boys getting robbed by the misclicks one day? 0.00000% chance. They do not happen in the same time. They are hundreds of years apart. How do you plan on keeping the combat challenging as players level? Stronger adversaries, more interesting attacks. Well, you'll see, dude. Just like everything scales. You know, you can put them against more difficult creatures. You can put them against more creatures. You can put them against harder creatures. You can put them against creatures they don't want to kill. You know, you can put them against things that screw them up status-wise. You can put them against creatures that like attack them while they're sleeping and they're still strong. Everything scales. It's not a problem. What are the Misclicks? Misclicks is a D&D group that we run on Tuesdays on Live in Pink stream. Do you have any tips or recommendations for a science fiction roleplay campaign? Just have fun. That's the one thing. The most important thing is don't worry about the game. Just have fun. You're here to play. You're here to have fun. When you start worrying about the rules and getting stuck in shit, then it's no longer fun. No, I've never seen Darylis and Associates. If they ever trigger a trap, will you shout, "You've activated my trap card"? No, I will not. Can you drop a lightning on Abby and kill her, please? I could, I won't. Is there any chance of having a relic from Misclicks or Roleplay being found by the other show as a small tie-in? Maybe. If you want to see tie-ins between the shows, actually, you should watch one-shots. Last week in one-shots, the players were sent from Dalamar to Captain Blackbeard, who is the person the Misclicks are currently... Well, they're currently looking for Captain Blackbeard's treasure. And the players were sent on a mission from Dalamar to Blackbeard. So there was a tie-in there, but I do it in one-shots rather than in the actual campaigns. So one-shot, so we got Roleplay, which is here. We got Misclicks, which is down here. And we have one-shots, which will dot all over the place and like fill in a lot of background details and kind of like make sense of the world and tie the world together and kind of like weave everything into a nice pattern. So, yeah. Roleplay is first in the timeline between Roleplay and Misclicks. Do wizards have any combat sustainability once they've used their spells? No. No. If a wizard has no spells, he's basically useless. Is it possible for a character to die from old age? Yes. How old is Dalamar? Not answering. What do you think about Brigger teaching himself Morse code? It's funny. It's never going to come in useful. Basically never. How did the whole leveling process happen with skills, traits, extra stat? I don't understand. I need more context to answer that question. What would you do if the party travels to an area you have not yet prepared story for? That happens all the time. That happens all the time. The party's always traveling to places where I don't plan things. Even though I put about 4 hours of planning into each session of roleplay, probably about 50% is unplanned and kind of made up on the spot. For example, today, when they sat around after killing everybody, that was unplanned. The people coming back to search for them, like the exact numbers and all that sort of thing, was unplanned. I hadn't even thought about it because I thought if they got into a battle and if somehow they won, if somehow they killed everyone, then they'd just go into the tomb and that would be that. It never crossed my mind that they would sit around for 11 days and try to ambush reinforcements. Yeah. Will one-shots characters level up? Yes. How old are you? 26. Can you be a melee mage? Mages can fight in melee, and they will suck in melee. If we're still talking about the roleplay system. What is the maximum amount of players that you can be in a D&D game? You can be in it? I think you mean what are the maximum amount of players you can have in a D&D game, in which case as many as you want? There's no maximum. It's whatever the DM can handle. I would not have more than 5. 5 is pretty much my limit. What abilities do other dragons have? Please answer. Well, I answer the questions that I see. It's not like I read a question and then choose not to answer it, so adding please answer doesn't help. What abilities do other dragons have? Well, they breathe different things. Some breathe gas, some breathe acid, some breathe fire, some have spells, some don't have spells, they fly. I don't know what you mean, dude. They're dragons. They have magic and breath weapons and shit. What is the highest damage you've seen while DMing? 50 in one shot, I think. Yeah. If roleplay killed Dalamar, what would happen in misclicks? Um, there would be no Dalamar, but on the other hand, they are on the other side of the world from Dalamar. So I don't think we're going to see any Dalamar in misclicks anyway. If roleplay happened before misclicks, doesn't that mean they can't kill Dalamar in roleplay? Dalamar hasn't ever been in misclicks anywhere, ever. He's not a factor in misclicks in the slightest. So, no, it doesn't. How does a wizard become something like a necromancer or a conjurer? You pick that when you start, when you build your wizard. Like, you can choose to specialize and you just start it that way. What is the weirdest thing that has happened during your years of playing D&D? We were extremely tired one night after playing basically all day long and having gone to like Six Flags early in the day. This is like high school, early high school. And it was 4 in the morning or 3 in the morning or something. And we were basically delirious from lack of sleep and exhaustion. And we tied up a priest, a high level priest. Somehow we captured a high level priest, tied him up, threatened his life, and one at a time killed each other and then forced him to reincarnate us as different animals or different creatures nearby. So, like, we would kill my friend Ryan, his character, and then he'd get reincarnated, which basically means his soul goes into the body of a nearby creature, which is randomly rolled. And so we just roll dice on the monstrous manual and then pull out a creature that he was like, oh, okay, now you're a Trent, which is basically an Ent. Well, that's lame. So then we'd kill the Ent, and then you like reincarnate him again as a Basilisk. Okay, cool, he's Basilisk. Now we're gonna kill Jackson, and then we kill Jackson. Oh, he comes back as a Dryad. Sweet, we'll keep the Dryad. All right, let's kill Neil. Oh shit, he comes back as a Brass Dragon. What? That was awesome. Yeah, yeah. Um, can a PC raise their stats without magic items? No. Tagaregum constantly prayed to Jexel. Would it have been possible for Jexel to intervene and help him? That's Deus Ex Machina. I won't intervene just because you pray. How does your girlfriend take all the time you spend on D&D plus streaming? Uh, I mean, it's what I do. She supports me in everything I do because she's the best. So she totally is cool with it in every way possible and encourages me and sometimes watches the shows. Sometimes. Mostly Mafia. What if parties cross the same path? Will they be able to hear about deeds the other party has done before? Conceivably. But I probably wouldn't put it in there just because I want to keep all the campaigns pretty separate. What if Bannon dies in the last battle for the wish and the party wishes Tuttigub back to life? Not telling you anything about the wish. Not telling you anything. So could one of the role players been a monk from the start since Miss Harvey's one? Miss Clicks is using a different campaign system, D&D system than roleplay is. And roleplay, I mean, if someone had wanted to be a monk, I would have made up rules for a monk class. So yes, they could have been. What choices do players make when they level up? So every so often, characters will get weapon proficiencies and non-weapon proficiencies. They get to pick those, although I've actually just been assigning them because it's been easier that way. Thieves get to add skills, points to their skills. Wizards get to learn new spells. And I give priests some spells, like the ability to pick some spells. Fighters get nothing. Rangers get nothing until they get spells. So it's just spells, thief skills, and proficiencies. And we're going to wrap this up pretty soon. We're going to take 5 more questions, and I'm going to take these 5 questions off Twitter. So tweet me at Koibu0 if you want your question answered. Go. Let's scroll down while we wait for these to come in. Um, what character have you most wanted to DM execute over the weeks? Not a single one of them. You mentioned Mafia. When is that played? That is every Wednesday at 6 o'clock Pacific time. What is your favorite class? Fighter, probably. I actually prefer human fighter. Like, that's my favorite class race to play. I think it's the most um, interesting and dynamic. I think the other ones kind of stick you in a certain. Like, if you play wizard, then wizards all kind of tend to be more or less the same. And if you play a priest, they all kind of tend to be more or less the same. And thieves tend to be more or less the same. But fighters have a huge variety, which I really like. So I prefer human fighter. What is your favorite? Oh, non-traditional race and class. I don't know. Minotaur, and I don't know any non-traditional classes. So Minotaur is my favorite non-traditional race. Shouldn't Brigger got another favorable enemy or something? No, he gets no more of those. Last question. How much of the world has been explored by the party compared to how much there is? Like, have they only been in one kingdom? They have explored a tiny, tiny portion of the world. Let's say the world is roughly the size of the United... If we were to say the world is the size of the United States, they have explored Rhode Island. So, there you go. That is our Q&A. So, if you guys want to... Everyone, when we're basically done, you should head over to Bregger's stream at Ryuzilla. Or, no. Twitch.tv/Ryuzilla. I might stream something a little bit later tonight, but that's about it. So head over to twitch.tv/Ryuzilla and watch him play League of Legends. If you're not interested in watching League of Legends, you should stick around because I'll be back in 20 or 30 minutes after I get some food and I'll stream something. Other than that, see you guys later and tune in for Mafia, which is a lot of fun, and one-shots on Thursday. See you guys later. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.